Good afternoon and welcome to More Meets the Eye. I'm your host Blind Prime and this is Cream the Cat. Hey Cream. Oh yeah, she's a loving cat. You are. And for today, we have More Than Meets the Eye. We're going to be discussing Dion and Ariel in their robot modes. And discussing also the differences between their robot modes and their evolved robot modes. The ones that Alpha Trion gave them in the show. Never really did this specifically states that Dion becomes Ultra Magnus, but we all know Dion becomes Ultra Magnus, right? So here we go. We've got so much fun to bring you today, and knocking things over immediately here on Blind Prime. Always knocking things over. Let's just set that up. There we go. Don't fall backwards again. Good grief, man. Come on. We're doing a video today, Dion. Don't be like that. What'd you do? Drink too much Energon juice? Okay. So let's make sure we got them all lined up so we can have a nice little thing going on here. There we go. We'll go with my my least favorite first. So we'll discuss Ariel at Elita 1, and honestly, it's just because Ultra Magnus is so freaking awesome. So we're gonna set Ultra Magnus here and Dion off to the side, and we're gonna do the compare and contrast thing between Ariel and Elita 1. So Dion, stand over here. Next to your older self. There we go. Okay, now let's bring these two guys in to the front area, and let's talk about them. Yeah, these are fun figures. I'm going to be honest with you. Both of these female robot modes here are very well done. I do say that the Prime Universe RC mold here, that Ariel is a little bit on the meh side. It's the plastic quality in it's not as good. It's definitely got some weak joints, especially that core joint. Oh, that core joint is a nightmare. It falls out all the time, and then you have to figure out how to put it back in, and it is not easy to put back in. And if you put it back in upside down or backwards, you got a problem, and you're going to have to rip it apart again just to get it back in there. So that's that is a troublesome thing about the the Ariel mold here. Other than that, though, this Ariel mold has some great articulation, and we'll discuss that before really getting into the compares to Elita 1. So, we got some decent elbow action there, single jointed elbow. The shoulder can raise up to about a little more than 45. We can do a rotation of 360 degrees, but it's difficult because nothing in this core area really locks down. It's kind of a negative on this figure. Isn't it weird that when we get these double packs, we always get like a crappy transformer and then a non-crappy transformer, and that arm wasn't really completely transformed right. And of course her weird little crotch piece just fell off. Where did it go? Oh, nuts. Yeah, that piece fell off, and I don't know what's going on with it, but it always falls off. It's not really a stable piece. I don't get it. I really like the way they did this figure, but at the same time, I have to ask myself the question of, why choose this mold out of all of them? Why choose this one? Because it doesn't seem like this one just really works well. You could have chosen any other sort of mold. You could have just given us the, another type of RC mold, and I don't know where her little crotch section thing went. That's not good. That's not good at all. No. Ah, nuts. Knocking things over. Knocking things over. What did I knock over that time? Oh, I knocked you over. All right. Well, we can't find the crotch piece. We're just going to deal with the rest of the episode minus that piece. That is a negative on this figure, is that piece does not want to stay in existence. So, yeah, you're all going to be viewing her screw hole. Which, there's just this screw right there that piece hides. I don't know why that piece sucks so much, but it does. That is a big negative on this figure, is that one piece. Other than the fact that you can achieve a spin here at the waist, but be very, 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 very careful because of the connection point back here. It's so crap. It's just two little pieces that come up on either side of this long bar that works for transformation to fold her up like that, but at the same time, it's not very stable, and there's not much in there that clicks it into place. You would think that there'd be like a solid click, so when you pushed it into place, you got this like click noise and let you know like it's locked in, but it's not locked in. It's not locked in at all. It just sits there, and you have to push her backpack down to add enough tension to ensure that she just doesn't go flopping all over the place. It is kind of I'm glad I did not get the Prime RC figure, because I'm not a big fan of this. We've got regular hip rotation for everything that we normally see in Transformers, but only a single jointed knee. Though we can also make it a double jointed knee if we were to like half transform it. It just looks really goofy. It's terrible. So just don't do that. Not much more to talk about here. Let's talk about the sculpt work though, because they did do some great sculpt work here. So we're going to discuss that now, because there's not really much more to talk about. Ankle tilt, of course, but that's what we come to know from everything. So siege port wise, there's one on the tip of each of her toes. There's no more real siege ports on this character, and that's kind of a shame. There's one on each of her forearms, and then there's one on each of her hands. So 6 overall, 7 if you count the one that this motorcycle wheel plugs into. So there's one on her back that the motorcycle wheel plugs into that you can like plug a blast effect into to make it seem like, you know, she's got a rocket pack or something. That's kind of a neat thing. I do wish, like, really, the wheel, you could have done some really cool stuff with something else to make it seem like a hover bike or something cool like that, you know. But all these wheels. Anyway, let's talk about sculpt work. So her head sculpt is excellent. I mean, that's what you came here for. I do like the little hair on the back that clips in. That's really weird, but, you know, it works. It works for her. You know, she's Ariel. She's the weirdest female Transformer out there, because, you know, she only showed up a little bit, and they actually gave her a ponytail. Her face sculpt is pretty good. We've got that little crest at the top of the head that a lot of the Transformers seem to have. You know, I would love to see, in the Transformers universe, a story about these crests and why they all seem to have one. Like, what's the history of these crest things? And they never talk about it. But that face sculpt is pretty good. Not much more to talk about here on this figure. There's a lot of negatives to the Prime RC mold, but then again, if you compare it to other RC molds, there's a lot of positives to the Prime RC mold, because the other RC molds are just so crap. I do wish this came with a second gun, so that you could have the little laser cycle effect, or, you know, not even had a gun, because Ariel didn't even have a weapon. So I'm just kind of a meh on that. Like, really, you could have just done away with the weapon, and you given us some sort of Energon-grabbing claws or something to help her do her job at the Energon warehouse. That would have been a little more story-driven development there, but that's all I got to say for Ariel here. She's got a decent sculpt work on her, excellent little pieces and folds of metal on the chest area. They did do a good job with that. That feels really great. You know, every part of her feels really amazing, and I just got to give some negatives to the fact, like that crotch piece is constantly falling off. The transformation is a pain, and cat hair. And yeah, man, the articulation is a little subpar. So, you know, as figures go, I'd have to give Ariel, like, by herself, a 6 out of 10. Maybe a 7 out of 10. 6.5 out of 10, I'd give it to Ariel, because, you know, she does have some good stuff to her. She is Ariel. It's nice to have that character, but at the same time, I do wish the robot mode was a little better. I really do. So let's set Ariel off. Well, now let's compare Ariel to Elita 1. Of course, we know that the Alpha Trion took Ariel and transformed her into Elita 1. I like that her ponytail became these little horns. I like that her crest widened out for Elita 1. Her face also widened out a bit. You know, Elita 1 just seems like an older Ariel. It really feels like Elita 1 is the older version of Ariel. It works. It really does work, and I think these figures together are amazing. I do love that, you know, Elita 1's textures and sculpt work kind of show an older woman who's got responsibility behind her. You know, an older bot who leads other people, and, you know, and here you have her sculpt for Ariel here, and she seems like, you know, like a kid. She is sculpted to feel more like a young Transformer, and I think they did a good job. When I picked this up, I think it's a young Transformer. It feels like a young Transformer. And Elita 1 here feels like a warrior, a person who's experienced a lot of battles. But that's it for those two. Let's move on to my favorite part of this. which is Dion here, because Dion is just so cool. Dion, I gave him double Energon treats because he's an Energon hauler, he's an Energon loader. Of course, he'd have Energon treats to spare. Dion just seems like that guy that you invite to the parties because he's always got the snacks. He'll always bring the snacks to the party, and that's Dion here. I believe that is at least my mind on him. He's the guy that brings the snacks to the party. So this is basically the same mold as Cup. They really didn't do anything more to change any of the articulation. He's still got that problem with the knee of not being able to bend it 90 degrees. Well, he can bend it 90 degrees, but it's not a really great one because the back of the leg is just so thick. The ankle tilt, all of the articulation here is the same. His arms, for me, some people have stated that the arms don't pop off that bad for them. And for me, though, they were simply terrible. Like the moment I pulled him out of the packaging, his arms just fell off. They were like, I'm done. I managed to make it all the way here to your house, but I'm tired now. And they just fell apart. So what I did is, and I got some of it right here. I think that's, that should be it. I got some of this blue sticky tack here. This may be the blue sticky tack. I also have some white sticky tack on my stage. Anyway, I used this blue sticky tack, and I took just the tiniest amount. Like something, really small. Just a pea size. Like you want to try and get, let's see, how would I describe this size for a blind person? It's kind of small. You know what? It's like if you took a bigger ant and you crushed it up and rolled it into a ball. That's about the size of this. It's like an ant ball, I guess they would call it. I'm trying to think of something else that we could use for a description on the right size for this because it's not very much. It's like a pinch, but less than a pinch of blue sticky tack. Anyway, you want to get as small of amount as you can, but still have enough to allow it to, stick. But if you put too much, there's going to be a gap. But if you don't put enough, it's just going to fall off. But now my arm is very slow to twist. It's got some tension in there because of that sticky tack, and it doesn't fall off. It's excellent. I love it. I advise using the blue sticky tack on the interior arms for your Dion to ensure he doesn't go falling apart on you. And be careful of how much you use, because if you use too much, there's going to be a gap up there, and then it's not going to really hold together at all. So be careful how much you use. You may need to take a little pokey stick and get in there, or a little toothpick, and pull out the sticky tack if you use too much. I use the toothpick to pull it out. That's what I advise. So let's continue. I like this guy's head. We're going to continue with the Dion here. His head has got this huge helmet that seems like it's put on there. It's a smaller head inside of that. But, he seems kind of dumpy. A little on the dumpy side, but not a bad way. Yeah, he's just a good guy. He's just a bro. He's a bro bot. That's what he is. He's a bro bot. And that's what the head kind of makes me feel like. Like this dude will help you out. You get pulled over by the cops at 3 a.m, he'll answer the phone. Because, that's Dion. He's cool like that. The articulation, like I said before, is pretty good for it's Cup. It had some decent articulation. I just wish the hands did more. I don't like his hands. That's my biggest negative on this, but that was my biggest negative on the Cup. I thought the hands were just a little too big. The hands just seem a little large so sculpt-wise, they did change his chest up, where Cup had a very big windshield thing on his chest. This guy seems to have more of a construction vehicle feel. Like it feels a little more armored. Like this guy, if a crane accidentally dropped a load on this truck, it wouldn't buckle or anything like that. He's got safety features installed. And on his back, he's got the biggest difference in the sculpt, because there's nothing different about the legs. Okay, I'm just going to be straight with you on that one. And the other big difference is this thing on his back. He's got an extra addition to the back of the truck, and it's these weird things that he can actually hold in his hands if he wasn't currently trying to give everybody treats of Energon. But he can hold them in his hands, and I don't like the fact that they gave either of these people guns, because they don't have guns. They have tools to help them do their jobs, because they were the Autobots before the war began, and they didn't have guns. Giving Dion giving Dion Cup's weapon was weird. You could have just given him 2 Energon snacks. These are, some may call them guns, but I think of them as gravity guns. Yeah, gravity guns. You know, he's he's a warehouse worker, so of course he's got some sort of high-tech technology thing that allows him to grab something with the gravity gun and pick it up and move it around. He can just stand there and move it all around the warehouse and put it where it needs to go. I think that's what these things are. That's what my head my head canon is telling me these are, because I don't think he would have guns. I just these are the few Autobots where I'm just like, no guns. No guns on these guys. They don't get guns because it just doesn't work with the time frame that they're from. They're from a time where Autobots didn't have weapons, because the Autobots were losing the war because Autobots didn't have weapons. They were just construction guys and scientists and doctors and stuff. It was the Decepticons that had all the weapons in the war forms. So that's Dion here. Excellent Transformer. The only thing I noticed mold degradation-wise, because there's not been much mold degradation, is the fact that these arms fall off. And a little bit of sticky tack fixes that. But this guy has had very little mold degradation at all. I've absolutely loved how this figure has come together, and I do like how he feels. And I'm very happy I have a Dion in my collection. Now we're going to end the video by comparing him to his evolved form, Ultra Magnus. There we go. Now look at that. Look at a Dion compared to Ultra Magnus here. Dion stands most of the way up. Dion just goes above the chest. The top of his head goes right below the chest plate for Ultra Magnus here. Ultra Magnus's head is very large. I'm wondering if there's any, his head it would help if his head was turned the right way. Now, I don't know if there's any similarities between Dion's head and Ultra Magnus's head, but I'd like to think that there are. Maybe they added some similarities to these two heads. It's really hard to get their heads together in the same area to do a comparison. I guess we can just flip him upside down and set his head there. There we go. Now, let's take a look. All right, so yeah, there's a nose and a mouth, but it's really hard for my fingers to really tell. It seems like Dion's mouth is a lot wider, or he's just got a big old smile on, than Ultra Magnus's. Well, that is Ultra Magnus and Dion. They look great together. Side-by-side comparison. We've got Ultra Magnus's hand. Let's take a look at your hand, Ultra Magnus. Can your hand fit around Dion's head? Yes, it can. Oh, that's why. Maybe growing up and being able to put your hand around your previous self's head. That's crazy. It's like one of those people that was really, a small kid at like 5, they stood like 1.5 feet tall, and then whenever they got to be, 22, and they stand 7 feet tall and have hands that can just grasp a basketball. That's kind of what I'm getting from the feeling from this. It's like if you could go back in time and put your hand around your younger self's head, it would just cover the entire thing, and that's kind of what that's doing right there. I love it. I absolutely love having these two in my collection, and I highly suggest that you get these two in your collection. One of them isn't the greatest robot in the world, and it doesn't have the greatest transformation in the world, but them together, I'd give this package deal an 8.5 out of 10. And mostly that's just from my feelings and opinion on it, and just the happiness I have that they finally made these two Autobots, and you can finally put them in your collection. It's amazing. I love it, and I am very happy for this. And now I just need to get myself that Alpha Trion and Orion Pax 2-pack so I can finish out the episode whenever we get the Ariel bots next year. Yeah, we're getting the Ariel bots. Oh, and before I let you go, I just watched the next episode of X-Men 97, and oh my god. If you're not watching that show, watch that show, because that episode was, whoa, that was a rough episode. You need to watch it. It's good. It's real good. If you, I'll only give you one spoiler for it in one word: Genosa. Yeah. So go watch X-Men 97. Until next Prime, thank you so much. Please like, share, and subscribe. Bye-bye for now.